Hi everyone, I am Asia Nicholson and welcome back to another segment of Coffee with CoreLife. This is where we discuss all things health and wellness. And before we get into our next topic, let's introduce our guest, which is Vice President of Medical Exercise, Cory Clayville. So today's topic, we're going to be discussing working out in cold weather, extreme hot weather, just different conditions other than the norm. So our first question that we have for Cory is, do people with certain conditions like asthma or heart problems have to take special precautions when working out in cold weather or hot weather?
Yeah. What I don't want to do is create fear in anyone that
Mm-hmm.
you can't exercise for X reason or Y reason. The benefits of exercise more oftentimes than not will outweigh any risk associated. However, with that being said, and I'll touch on asthma just because with cold weather it can be an irritant.
Mm-hmm.
With asthma, the precaution I would take if you're going to exercise outdoors is just wearing something light over your mouth. And that way you can kind of moisten and warm the air before it goes into your lungs, because that's typically the irritant is cold weather is usually drier.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those that experience asthma would know this, the second that it hits winter, you can start to develop more irritants than you did previously with warmer weather. So I would just say, feel free to exercise outdoors, but listen to your body. And if you are going to go for a light jog or a light walk outside and you do have asthma, go ahead and wear something over your face, not to be restrictive, but just something that allows you to warm the air before it hits the lungs.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Okay, so for our next question, we have if you were going to work out
Mm-hmm.
outside, what layers or precautions would you take for yourself?
Yeah, so the first thing I would think about would be the intensity of my workout.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kind of relates to body heat, where the harder you go, the more body heat you'll generate. And so if I'm going outside and I know I'm going to be on the lighter side and it's cold out, then I would wear warmer clothing, wear thicker clothing, and layers is always best so you can take it off as needed. But because I'm not going as intense, I would need my clothing to support the lack of body heat that I'll be generating. If I do know that I'm going to go fairly hard, then something more lighter, still layers, and that gives me the ability to take them off. But I would say to answer that, it always comes back to your own personal weather tolerance
Mm-hmm.
and then the intensity in which you are choosing to exercise.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, and then for our last question, are there any weather conditions that people should avoid working out in altogether?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. So going back to my first statement about not creating fear,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to open up the door to all these different reasons why we shouldn't exercise, because as a society, more than ever, we need to be moving our
Mm-hmm.
bodies. But specific to your question, I would say it kind of falls in line with common sense. And what I mean by that is if it's storming outside, probably not the best in terms of safety to be exercising outdoors. And then I would go left or right in terms of the extreme scenarios. So if it's really, really cold out, you're more, it's probably better for you to exercise indoors than to try to push yourself through a workout in a blizzard, as an example. But then the inverse is also true. If we're talking 110 degrees, humidity through the roof, hard to breathe, also arguably not the safest environment to exercise. And so I would say just as best as you can apply common sense to the situation. And if you're able to exercise in a cooler environment, something a little more suitable that's just like your day to day, then I would go with that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely. Of
for joining us with Coffee
course.
with CoreLife. You're our second guest, so that's
Oh,
exciting.
nice.
And thank you so much for your time
For
today.
sure.